Do you want to improve your ad creative performance for Facebook ads? Well, then look no further, because in this video, I am going to reveal the same exact strategy that we use here at my agency Victory Media to rapidly test ad creatives for e-commerce brands and their Facebook ads. So without any further ado, let's hop straight into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to just another video here on my channel. If you're the first time around, then, welcome, I guess. My name is Victor. I am the founder of Victory Media, a boutique Facebook marketing agency that exclusively works with D2C e-commerce brands to, help them to properly implement Facebook ads in order to scale their revenues to the next level. And as you might have already guessed it, obviously a really incremental part of my day-to-day life and my, business obviously is the proper implementation of ad creative tests, the ad creative optimization in itself, and ad creative iteration. And obviously, not only me, but also my team then works day to day to, lay out those ad creative tests, actually establish hypotheses, and then launch those ad creative tests. So I would argue that I do know a thing or two about Facebook ad creative testing, and therefore I wanted to reveal to you the same exact process that we are using on a daily basis to properly implement those tests and actually get, statistically significant learnings back from them, and really make sure to increase our ad creatives performance for our e-commerce clients. So, the first thing that I really quickly just wanted to, establish before we hop into that process, so we are all on the same page here, ad creative is the most important lever that you can pull when it comes to your Facebook ad campaigns performance, right? Nielsen Technology is a huge corporation that, their bread and butter is just kind of running studies, actually published a study where they, kind of attributed the campaign's performance towards the different ad elements that you could have, right? For example, context, targeting, whatsoever. And they have actually established that only about 8% of your campaign's performance can be attributed to targeting, right? And on one hand, obviously, there are so many people just talking about targeting, having to be in front of qualified audiences. However, ultimately, the most important lever that you can pull as an advertiser, as a marketer, and as a brand is obviously your ad creative, right? There was a really, really short time frame within, 2017, 2018, right? Where, probably, it was really important to also go ahead, narrow down your targeting audience, go for those smaller audience sizes, just, due to the fact that Facebook wasn't really, and Facebook's AI in particular wasn't really so advanced yet. However, nowadays, in 2022, that fortunately is not the case anymore, and you have one less thing to do to check off on your checklist, and you can really focus your efforts on ad creative. That is what we are doing here at Victory Media, and we are working day and night to figure out, how to communicate, best the USPs and the benefits from our clients' products within our ad creatives, right? And that is, the obvious thing, in my opinion, to do, because, for all the madmen out there, right, that is not something that is new. That is not something, some cool new tactic, right? Ad creative has and will always be the biggest lever that you can pull when it comes to the success of a marketing campaign, right? The only reason why, a lot of people don't really think so like that, especially when it comes to, running Facebook ads, is because of all those e-commerce and Facebook ads gurus out there that unfortunately, or, know that saying like, hey, you just have to put your hat down and improve your ad creative gets less clicks than saying, hey, I have discovered the perfect targeting option that will 10x your ROAS tomorrow, right? So, with that being said, additionally to that, before we hop into the ad creative testing right now, into the actual process that I'm going to reveal in this video, I also want to emphasize that this the importance of ad creative is only going to, increase going into the future, right? With data privacy laws increasing from a governmental as well as from an enterprise side, targeting options will decrease going into the future, right? Facebook has been removing a lot of their targeting options in regards to ethnicity, as well as, just general, private data. kind of Google Ads is also phasing out cookies, right? There will be a lot less granular and particular information when it comes to retargeting settings, and therefore ad creative will just increase in performance, because ultimately it will come back that your ad creative actually, picks or chooses your target audience, because they will be naturally more inclined to watch those people that are qualified to watch your video, right? So it really just comes back, and we can see that whole industry really maturing, and I'm eager to see what is in there for us as an agency, as well as for all those e-commerce brands out there. However, now coming back to what I've already been promising for the last 4 minutes, right? How do we in my agency go ahead and actually rapidly test ad creatives, optimize them, and reiterate them in order to increase our overall performance, right? And it ultimately comes back to really, kind of 2 to 3 things that we, two to three things that we are always doing, and how we are structuring our test. And in just a minute, we will actually hop into my computer, and I'll take a look inside of the Ads Manager with you and have a quick presentation laid out for you to really kind of, dig into that. However, the first thing is obviously laying out a hypothesis based on either previously gathered data or just general, market behaviors and principles and best practices when it comes to running Facebook ads for that niche or that type of product, right? Establishing an hypothesis. Secondly, then going ahead, and we always go ahead and have 2 to 4 ad creatives within each ad set, and then on the ad set level we are actually running the test, right? For now it probably just sounds like gibberish to you, so let's hop into my computer for you to see how we can actually do this and how you can replicate that same exact process. So here we are within my computer, and here you can see our current performing ad set. Obviously I've not really gone ahead and actually pick the creative from the ones that we are running for our clients, and obviously I will not really reveal anything that we are doing for our clients right now, but just imagine that this is our best performing creative, and our current best performer has those creative metrics and creative performance metrics, right? This is our AIDA principle, and those are the different metrics that we are taking a look at when it comes to evaluating our ad creative on a holistic level. And therefore, if you want to know more about that, right below, and there's a link in the description talking about that principle on how we go ahead and actually have an objective evaluation process for ad creatives. However, now let's get straight back to it. And our thumbs up ratio is 18%. Our average watch time is 5 seconds. Our click-through rate is 1.3%, and our ROAS is 1.2x, right? It's not looking bad, that ad creative. It's our current best performer. We've been piling up spend about like behind it, and we really right now want to go ahead and optimize it, right? And actually those metrics look pretty good, especially post iOS 14.5, and ROAS of 1.2x is not necessarily bad, and we are definitely on target here for that client. However, then we have now identified our problem, right? Because we do have to kind of pick one of our, pick our fights. We do have to see, okay, what are the things that we want to isolate, and which metric do we want to actually improve and increase, right? And in my opinion, the first thing that I always go for is to increase the thumbs up ratio, right? Our thumbs up ratio, I usually like to see that around 25 to 30%. Those are kind of our agency benchmarks. Obviously for you, you should always be working with relative metrics. So if you're far below that, and first try to improve that, and do not really kind of throw the towel in the ring. So make sure, however, that you do identify the problem, and then go ahead to try to improve that metric, right? So our thumbs up ratio is at 18%, and now since we have the problem identified, I want to establish my hypothesis, right? And as I said, the thumbs up ratio, meaning kind of the first 3 seconds of the video, are in my opinion the variable that I can improve, or that I have the highest likelihood to improve pretty quickly, because also just generally in my experience, the first 3 seconds of a video are really, really important when it comes to the general performance of that video. So our hypothesis, however, is if we have a more attention-grabbing scene or a bold statement in the first 3 seconds than just our current product display that we have in the first 3 seconds, then our thumbs up ratio will increase because more people will be inclined to watch it and see what this video or product is all about. So, we've established now our hypothesis, what I've previously mentioned as the first thing that we want to do when it comes to actually implementing our process for our ad creative performance and ad creative testing, right? However, establishing a hypothesis is not something that is, particularly new when it comes to A and B creative split testing. So what do we do and how do we actually then implement our hypothesis? So usually I go for, 2 up to 4 different variants to test and to see, okay, how are those different variants performing, right? And again, I didn't really go ahead and actually had a couple of different ad creatives ready to go with different scroll stoppers or whatsoever. So I just, had to use the color potential that I had at hand right now. However, just imagine that this is obviously our variant number 1, our control. This is our variant number 2. So this has, a different scroll stopper first 3 seconds. This also has different first 3 seconds. This also, but the body and the CTA is all the same. Just for you guys that are not necessarily too familiar with testing principles. However, you could obviously just on the side note, you could obviously go ahead and have, a question here, a question here that intrigues the potential buyer to watch more of the video. Like, for example, hey, have you already know, or the best way, do you know the best way to remove acne or something like that? If you're a skincare brand, I don't know, nothing comes really to my mind right now, just right at the bat. The other variant could be, for example, just having some quick UGC content, and the other one could be maybe, having a problem being displayed, right? Kind of the first 3 seconds, there's actually somebody that has acne, right? And saying like, hey, how to remove acne within 7 days, right? And go ahead and actually have that as a variant. So with that being said, as a quick tip, rather go ahead and actually have a broader testing cycle for your first 3 seconds. So obviously you could go ahead and have like a TikTok ad response for all of those different video variants and have just a different kind of comment that you're responding to, right? However, I would always like to keep that broad, generally saying, because then I can say, okay, here we have, some UGC content. Here we actually have a question, displaying, and here we have the problem, displaying in the first couple of 3 seconds. So after this test, then I can actually take this learning and say, okay, actually the problem, in the first 3 seconds has performed the best. So let's go ahead and actually have 3 different problems displaying in the next test to see which of those, performs the best and narrow that testing down. So however, you then want to have, created the 2 to 4 variants, and those 2 to 4 variants you do want to have in one ad set. And that is, in my opinion, one thing that not a lot of people are doing. And that, in my opinion, is a huge flaw that really big agencies are not really doing. They go ahead and usually have one ad creative within one ad set, or they go ahead, cycle that into their prospecting campaign whatsoever. But, I really like to have that with those different variants within one ad set, right? And that should then look like that, right? Those are my naming conventions here within my ads manager for one client. Those are a couple of tests that we've been launching over the past 2 weeks. And, here I have the different tests as the first, test number 5, female hook test, right? So and have in there, those 3 or 2 to 4 different ad creatives that then Facebook can actually choose from. And depending on the performance of this particular creative, they can optimize for, have more spend around it, right? Because it has a little bit better of a performance, and Facebook can optimize then for that particular ad creative, right? Because it just has a better performance, right? And this is really just how we structure our test. This is pretty much it, right? We have the ad set, and within each ad set, we have 2 to 4 different ad creative variations of the particular thing that we're testing. If we're testing the hook, then we have different hooks in there. If we're testing a net new creative, then we have 2 to 4 different net new ad creatives under that particular with this particular style within there, right? Or we have Afro creatives, and we have different kind of ways to message and have those different angles in there, right? TikTok ad creatives, right? You go ahead and really kind of, consolidate those different ad creative variations instead of, really splitting that up within different ad sets. So this was our exact strategy that we are using here within my agency right now to rapidly, test ad creatives and increase the ad creative performance for our clients. However, right now, before we wrap it up, let me talk to you, or let me explain to you why we are actually using that, principle, instead of trying to have one ad creative within each, ad set or whatsoever. Use one of those thousands of other ways to actually test ad creatives within your ad account. And that is first, with that structure, you accumulate your learnings within one ad set, which, not only consolidates the data and, makes your learnings and your findings more statistically significant, but, and that is our second reason, it also increases the probability of actually exiting the learning phase with our ad set, right? If we have 4 different ad creatives within 4 different ad sets, each at $100, probably will not really go out of the learning phase. However, if we have those 4 different variations within one ad set, and the learning phase is happening on the ad set level, for those of you who don't know it yet, and we have this one ad set at $400 spend, and we have those 4 different ad creative variations within this ad set, the likelihood of us exiting the learning phase is a lot higher, right? And then last but not least, we just generally have a better overview of our test, right? If you kind of look back on the screenshot that I've shared with you within the presentation, we have a clear, structured overview of how, we are testing, what we are testing, when we have been testing what, right? Instead of having like those various different ad creatives. Various different ad sets when the ad creatives just kind of thrown within the ad account. As well as, obviously, you can then go ahead and after 72 hours, I then first optimize that ad set by turning off the worst ad creative performance, as well as maybe increasing the budget, right? You can then really go ahead and have a better overview of your ad creative tests and really make sure that you're optimizing for your best winners, as well as giving Facebook the most amount of options to actually tap into that, Facebook AI, artificial intelligence, and let Facebook do the heavy lifting. So, without any further ado, I hope this video was of any help to you. If you have any questions, feel free to write a comment right below that, or reach out to me at victor@thevictorymedia.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you out in case you have any questions in regards to how we are actually testing our ad creative. So, this is pretty much it, right? This is how we're testing our ad creative, and this is how you should be doing it right now, as well as at least kind of test it out within your account and see if you like that type of structure, right? Either way, I hope that I'll see you in the next one next Thursday, and keep growing. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point. I know that if you have come this far, that you form a part of an exclusive group of people that do not only talk, but walk the talk, and that you are hungry for more content. So therefore, I went ahead and picked out an exclusive video just for you that I know you're going to love. Check it out right here.